Welcome back to episode 80 of the Owl Triangle. Andy Stevenson, Caoilte Barra, and myself, Ian O'Neill, are here to break down all the latest news in Irish mixed martial arts. And there's a load of news to talk about, lads. We're going to talk, obviously, a bit of Oktagon, PFL, UFC London's coming up. The Don joins us to discuss his fight with Nathan Fletcher. I'm very excited to get through this episode, and we have a ton to get through. We're just, the trend I kind of like a little bit of off topic to get us warmed up here, lads. So I hope you're keeping well, and then we'll get into the MMA real quick. St. Patrick's weekend just gone by. St. Patrick's Day just gone by. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on St. Patrick's Day, Andy?
Just like a thesis on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. We want to do 20 minutes on St. Patrick's Day. A Welshman. Lovely, great Welshman.
Great man. Got rid of the snakes. Fun fact. He actually... I'm forgetting the fun fact now. Shit. Basically, he got rid of the pagans is what actually happened. There was no snakes. Surprise, guys. No actual snakes in Ireland. But he got rid of the pagans by bringing Christianity to Ireland. That's my fact of the day.
There you are.
St. Patrick's Day, yeah.
And the rest is history. Caoilte, what about yourself? I know these two boys, I'm getting these boys warmed up now because they're heading out. We're recording, as we do always on the Owl Triangle, recording a little bit earlier. St. Patrick's Day celebrations haven't happened properly yet, but the boys are heading out for points after this one now. So if they're a little bit quick on the point of explaining stuff, this podcast, you guys know why they have a point.
Fucking hurry up, Ian, will you? For fuck's sake.
Yeah, I'm just dragging on here, like talking about St. Patrick's Day. But it's different over here in Canada, lads. No day off for me. Sad. They fucking call it St. Patty's Day over here, which annoys the life out it, and like it annoys the life out of me. And the drink,
that's really Yankee behavior.
Yeah, to drink green beer over here. If you have a pint of green beer in your hand and you're coming to talk to me on St. Patrick's Day, don't even bother. That's all I'll say.
The glitter, it just... I
saw that.
Garrett Noon. Oh, no, Garrett Noon.
That whoever served that pint or whoever did that, Garrett Noon did put it on his Twitter. They should be arrested, really, lads.
I'm delicious.
Yeah. That point was definitely not delicious. Anyway, it was absolutely rotten looking. I don't know how anyone would drink it, but I can tell you what was delicious, lads, and that was Will fucking Fleury at Oktagon picking up the heavyweight title. We're going to kick things off talking about the big man himself, the Tipperary Lion, Will fucking Fleury, whatever you want to call him. He goes through many moniker, but his latest moniker is now dual double champion for Oktagon. Like current light heavyweight champion, picked up the heavyweight title with an excellent win at Oktagon 68 against Lazar Todev in an absolute war for the ages. It was a serious battle. And it was great to see Will. I think, look, starting off the conversation, I'll head to Caoilte first. I mean, the story and the decision and the partnership that Will Fleury and Oktagon have developed, it's really cool to see. And I mean, going from, things not going well with the PFL, the ban, to finding his feet at Oktagon and he's run over the course of 11 months to pick up both titles. Caoilte has been nothing short of sensational, to be honest.
It's incredible. I said it before, but I almost and it's before the titles where I was talking about him nearly doing a Phil de Vries in KSW, but with Oktagon. And it's nearly kind of like that now, where he's built that relationship with Oktagon, and it's he's fighting actively, he's getting big fights, they're taking care of him, he's headlining shows. The progression of it all and the relationship he's built up is just, it's unreal. The decisions clearly paid off. The fight was fantastic. And as you mentioned, the story of it all, the story is incredible. And we all look from a media perspective, you love a story, something you can build on, and where someone was, what's happened to where they are now and where they're going. And I love it. He's solidified himself in the promotion's history, and he's becoming a bit of a legend in there, to be honest. Like they love him. Credit to him. He's done a lot. He's had to do a lot of the work himself. Oktagon helping. They're very good at the media side of things, but he's done it. He deserves a lot of credit for the work he's done on his side to actually make himself come across very likable in the cage and outside the cage for Oktagon fans who probably didn't really have a clue who he was beforehand, to be frank.
Yeah, I think Oktagon have done a fantastic job in kind of, feeding into Will's personality and that kind of built his character, building some hype. The last 4 fights for Will, it's been a roller coaster. Obviously coming off of the disaster over at PFL and stuff like that. He had to pick up the pieces, and Oktagon was the place where he did it, Andy. April 20th, 2024, picked up an arm triangle win over Daniel Skivor. Went on and picked up another first-round win with a left hook knockout of Pavel Langer face plant. Gets the fight. That was in October 12th, 2024. December 29th, 2024, picks up the light heavyweight title with a unanimous decision win over Carlos Vermola, and then seals the deal and becomes dual champion, Andy, against Lazar Todev on March 8th, 2025. That's a hell of a run.
It's incredible. To do all of that in 11 months is like it's somewhat unheard of. And like to Caoilte's point there about he's had to do it all himself. Like I'm sure that when he signed with Oktagon, he had all of this or the vast majority of this in his head. He's constantly been talking about, going and showing people who he is. But the Oktagon promoters, I'm sure they were like, oh, we're going to bring in Will Fleury. He's this guy who's fought in Bellator and PFL and these other promotions. He's been a champion in UAE Warriors, etc. And they're bringing him in. But like ultimately, they're there running a business, running a promotion to serve the specific markets that they have success in, which is the likes of Germany and the Czech Republic and Slovenia and Slovakia and all these countries where Will isn't the obvious fit. And so what Will has done is he's gone in here and firstly delivered with his performance. And like, I'm probably repeating myself to an extent for previous episodes because it's the same thing each time, but it's just that next level. But he's gone in and he's delivered on his performances, but he's also had to learn on the job as to, okay, well, what are they looking for? Because they went into, they did that show in Birmingham, which was his first fight, and it was a failure. Like if from a ticket selling perspective, etc., it was a failure. But Will has been able to understand their business model, and these are things like completely outside of fighting, understanding, creating a relationship with the fan bases in each region, going in and fighting the hometown guy essentially every time, and delivering it and being able to, communicate who he is as a person, who he is as a fighter, and also making them get to know him and doing it in a way that's, he's going in and saying, I'm going to go in and smash your champion. But then it feels like he's winning over the crowd each time. And it's not like he's this kind of heel boogeyman who's just a dickhead coming in to spoil the party all the time. He's this guy who's likable and that they can actually get behind it. So now they know him. And I think that this time, he had to dig deep in the Vermola. Actually, I don't know if he had to dig deep in the Vermola fight. Vermola didn't go away. And he was in cruise control for a lot of the fight. Will, he was in total control. He had to dig deep to a degree I've never seen him had to dig deep before in his career against Todev. And it's so impressive to win the second title and then to be there in a position where it's like, right, I've got 2 titles now in 2 different divisions. What do they do with them next? And there's loads of options that he can do, which makes it very exciting. But I think that the Oktagon promoters are probably sitting there being like, Jesus, we didn't actually expect this to happen when we signed Will Fleury, and it's a good thing. Like I think it's they're going to have to make they're going to have to figure some business things out now, but I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and I think Will is in a position right now where he can call the shots, and I think that's what he kind of has been doing over the last fight or so. Anyway, after beating Vermola, the decision. Would he go to middleweight? Would he move up to heavyweight? I feel he made the right decision in moving up as opposed to moving down. And I think there's lots of options there in both divisions. I mean, with competition that's already there in Oktagon, and competition that, could be brought in. There's a battle going on between Oktagon and KSW now. Maybe we'll see some cross promotion, and that would be pretty exciting as well. The fight itself, Caoilte, it was a war overall. I mean, the 2 guys were trading early in round 1. Will winning the majority of the first round. Obviously, he had a little bit of trouble where he walked onto the jab of Todev, who showed that, we talked all about Todev before the fight, in that his record doesn't really showcase how good or how dangerous he is. But we saw Caoilte early days in round 1 and throughout this fight that he was dangerous on the feet, and Will definitely had to be careful when he was in those exchanges with him.
Yeah, like Todev, there was moments in the fight he probably wasn't. I guess especially early in the fight where Todev wasn't after kind of getting into the fight very much. but he let Will know he was there even when he was quiet. Like Will was kind of having a lot of success early on, and Tadev, he wasn't throwing that much and probably not something we were expecting to see, but he always made sure to let Will know that he was still there. You had that jab that dropped Will, then you had that Kimura attempt in the second round. And as the fight went on, Lazar Tadev grew into it, and it just started becoming this all-out war. And he forced Will to, as Andy said, dig to probably areas he's never digged before to get that win. And it was sensational performance overall. Like I don't think I said on last podcast, I probably didn't, but I was not skeptical, but I was more curious to see how he would look from a gas tank perspective going up to heavyweight. And when he started out so quick, Will, I was like, wow, I was like, this, if he can keep this up for 5 rounds, this would be incredible. The way because he's carrying this extra weight that he hasn't fought with before, in a division he hasn't fought in before, but the way he managed his gas tank and the pace of the fight, and like he was fucked by the end of it, don't get me wrong. Obviously you would be, but the way he managed to keep the pace of the fight and his gas tank held up for all 5 rounds was incredible. And the performance itself, the movement, the speed, the way he was able to translate his skill from middleweight to light heavyweight and now to heavyweight is just, it blew me away, to be honest with you. And he took it, taking out Tadev. He also is the first man to take down Tadev in Oktagon, which I thought was an impressive feat as well,
Yeah, no, it ticked off a lot of boxes for sure. And I think, his fight IQ showed as well, working the body of Tadev Andy. We had the luxury of open scoring in this fight. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is a form of opinion. I do not personally like open scoring. I like the mystique of not knowing the score. I think, it takes away a little bit of that excitement as it's going on, but we knew after round 1, Andy, that Will Fleury, even though he was kind of dropped with that jab, he won every second of the rest of that round, and the judges rightly scored it 10-9 on all 3 scorecards. Tadev 19-19 was the score for the second round, but it was an illegal knee that Will took in that second round. That kind of, I was like, why is there no point being taken here? It seems like this is a trend in mixed martial arts nowadays, Andy, is that you have one illegal shot per fight. But this one was a big knee. I think Will's toughness kind of didn't do him any favors in this one because, he reacted initially, but recovered very quickly after the knee. But, your thoughts on how the fight played out, 1-1, and Will kind of took over the fight in round 3. Won round 4 and won round 5 as well. Just your thoughts on Will's overall performance.
Oh, it was brilliant. I thought he fought incredibly well. That just to your point about the lack of a point deduction, I was shocked that there was no point taken. It was the most blatant. I don't think Tadev was into. It's gonna sound weird. I don't think he was intentionally trying to just be dirty or anything, but it was obviously an intentional shot.
It was more of a reactionary.
It was just a mistake that was, I don't know.
But it should be punished.
Blatantly illegal. We watched it. We'll talk about it later on. There was a point deduction in Craig McGrattan's fight there last weekend for grabbing a cage, and there's such a different. I know it's a different foul and everything, and different scenarios, but. For me, someone getting blasted with a knee by a heavyweight fighter, from close range straight into the head, is more, deserving of a point being deducted than someone grabbing a cage. In my opinion, anyway. But anyway, I thought it should have been a point deduction. Obviously, so it was even on 2 judges' cards, and Will was up 20-18 on another going into the third. I thought that Fleury did a brilliant job of fighting on the outside, and really where the difference that I remember seeing between the two was really just the movement and the fight IQ, where it felt like Tadev, he was always dangerous, he was always powerful, but he was at times just not getting out of the way. So Fleury was, he was picking and moving, he was landing those big flush head kicks. There was, I think it was the third round when Tadev landed a beautiful right hand on Fleury that hurt him. It looked like he'd hurt Fleury, but Fleury, his ability to just immediately respond and come back and land the flush head kick to follow up with the barrage of punches and busting Tadev open to the point where the doctor is coming in between rounds to check to see, is his jaw broken? Is he able to continue? Obviously he did, and he rebounded very well. I thought the fourth was his best round, and then obviously the fifth, like as Caoilte mentioned, like Will, and he admitted this himself after the fight, he was bollocks. Like you could tell he was bollocks, but I thought he did a brilliant job of still, like, he didn't look like he did in round one, but he was still kind of having that in and out sniping kind of approach, fighting from the outside, and was able to get out of the way when he needed to, because like that fifth round could have gone very differently if he wasn't able to, just kind of keep himself safe there. But I thought he did a great job of closing out the fight, when the gas tank was clearly compromised.
Yeah, and you'd have to wonder, and hopefully I'm hoping to try and get to speak to Will soon about it, but I'm wondering how he felt going into round 5, knowing that all he had to do was survive in that round. I think that's one of maybe a benefit of open scoring for a fighter, but
well, he was asking, right? He was shouting, like, I think I remember hearing in the broadcast, he was shouting to know the scores, like, so he was using it to his advantage.
For sure, as you should, if it exists. You know what I mean? You definitely should. What are your guys' thoughts on open scoring? I don't like it whatsoever. You in or you out? Is it thumbs up or thumbs down?
I don't mind it. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't really feel strongly either way. I could kind of take it or leave it. Like, I found it interesting in this fight because I was like, he got dropped in the first, but I really feel like he won the rest of the round. Like, I was definitely like, I think Will won that round. And then when you see the judges' scorecard, it's kind of like, oh, that validates my opinion on this. But yeah, I mean, it definitely takes away from the I'm
just a big fan of that not knowing. I liken Will's fight with Danny McCormick's fight when she won the Invicta title, where you're like, it was a war and you're on the edge of the seat. It's like, how the judge is going to score it, and it just
it's like the Hughes Nurmagomedov fight recently, where it's like
big time. Yeah. I get that. Yeah, wonder.
I would agree with you.
For me as a fight fan, that's something that the not knowing for me is not knowing how a fight is going to go adds to the kind of greatness about two guys facing off or two women facing off as well. I don't know. Just I don't feel super strong about it, but I hope it doesn't kind of come in long term. It's good to get a little taster of it too, all the same, and just kind of get a feel for it too. But fantastic stuff from Will. We'll actually mention Denis Frimpong, who actually fought on the card as well before we move on, against Robin Frank, previously undefeated opponent, and Denis went out there and won by unanimous decision. And it was a fantastic performance, Caoilte, from Denis, and I think it was one of the best performances of his career to date.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'd say it was career best performance, the way he just completely shut out Robin Frank for the entire fight. There was moments I probably thought he was going to finish it or could have finished it, but we saw his entire MMA game in that fight. His striking looked on point, his grappling was brilliant. Robin Frank had nothing. I think Robin Frank was nearly looking. He looked like he wanted out near the end of it, to be honest with you. Denis, I think, how did I describe it recently, was Denis Frimpong essentially broke him after, I think, the second round, and he broke him mentally, I think, and that you could tell how the fight was going from that point on. Brilliant performance, and on the back of it, he had the call out, and he's, they answered it, and he's got another fight booked off the back of it in May, and fair play to him. It's great. It's great to see him stay active.
Yeah, it is. I think it was, a gutsy move for him, Andy, going in there against the undefeated Frank, but obviously going in there with the level of confidence, knowing that he had a performance like that under his belt, and really good stuff. Like, I was really impressed by Denis here. Like, never want to shy away from controversy, of course, but he's also able to deliver inside the cage too.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, in fairness to Denis, like, I'm sure he rubs a lot of people the wrong way. I'm sure a lot of people like him. He's brash. He can be a dick to his opponents, but like, I like what he's doing. I think that he's going in there, and do you know what, he's picking like hard fights. It's not like he's going in there and like picking the, I realize he's had a couple of fights that where you could make the opposite argument, but like
except for his last one.
I know, but like
no fault of his own.
But in Oktagon, like he's been having tough
Oktagon,
fights
sure,
throughout, and I think he plays the heel role really, really well. He's walking out to Ramstein in front, as he's going in to fight a German fighter on German soil. He's talking to him the entire time, and like he's delivering, and I think that was his best performance of his career. Like I think that he did a brilliant job of again, like he would kind of come forward and strike and get his attacks in, and then as soon as Robin Frank, who I believe like the narrative coming into this was that he was going to be the kickboxer and that he'd beat Denis on the feet, as anytime he would go to throw or kind of step forward to throw, Frimpong would just circle out to his right, and it was just like he just did it rinse and repeat. He did a brilliant job of it. Like
Denis is very awkward on the feet to I would imagine to face off against. And look at he had some success in that video with Paddy Pimblett too on the feet, and Paddy shot down. It's just the length that he has in his legs and his arms. Caoilte, obviously from a Muay Thai perspective, if you have the length in your legs and your arms, you can use that greatly to your advantage. And I think Denis really does so. Would I be correct in saying that?
Oh yeah, he used it brilliantly. Those lads, you absolutely hate if you're short, like me. You as well, Ian. You'll understand. Those big, long limb lads, they're so awkward, and when they use it to their advantage, like it's a nightmare. And Robin Frank was smaller than Denis, and Denis used it perfectly in this fight. He used the range so well. Those are the type of lads that you just be like, just kick him in the shins or something, just get out. Like he's he really knows how to play it. And he was a jiu-jitsu fighter. He wasn't a kickboxer, as Robin Frank seems to make him out to be. He was a jiu-jitsu fighter that's kind of transitioned to MMA and developed this extremely good striking game and knows
did a
how
lot of
to
work
use
with Caolan.
Caolan,
the genius, yeah.
It's definitely shown there as well.
He was keeping him guessing as well.
Yeah.
Like I felt like his shots were so varied. The shot selection was so varied. You didn't know whether he was going to throw a kick, a spinning back fist, low kick, high. He was throwing everything. He was throwing a trademark Artem Lobov axe pick punch at one point as well. Frank just looked shook the entire fight.
Yeah,
like
he said that he couldn't figure out the puzzle. And when you're in there, it's not a nice scenario to be in when you just can't figure somebody out. And like Caoilte said, I think Robin Frank, he broke. I think it was at the start of round 2 for me. And just want to say, wonderful performance from Denis. And I'm glad to see him back in Oktagon. And, those are the type of opponents that he needs to kind of develop his game. And there's lots of more exciting fights, as Caoilte said, coming up for him as well.
And another German one on the way in May, 17th of May.
Yeah, who's that? Who's he fighting against?
I can't remember. Yeah, Topolai, I think, or Topola, yeah.
Something like that.
Ariane Topolai, 7-1-1 from Germany. So they're fighting on the 17th of May in Munich in BMW Park. Oktagon.
Lovely. From Oktagon to PFL, last podcast, obviously, we spoke about Paul Hughes and his announcement for the PFL Belfast card, which is now starting to take a little bit of shape. The card will take place on May 10th. We have a main event, and we have a couple of other fights on the undercard as well in the lightweight European tournament. Bruno Miranda has been the name that is drawn out for this fight for Paul. A homecoming fight for Paul. I've mentioned Burgos and everything like that. Bruno Miranda, an exciting fighter. I think when you really think about what is this event about, Andy, the event is about Paul Hughes. And the event is about Paul Hughes coming home to Belfast, to his fans, after one of the most impressive performances of his career, coming super close to win the title. Bruno Miranda is a dangerous fighter, but one I feel Paul should win against pretty easily. But this is just creating another moment in the uprising of Paul Hughes' career. And I think this is, as like we mentioned, like Pete kind of spoke to him during the week, and this is kind of a common for Paul Hughes to be the new face of Irish mixed martial arts.
Yeah, I think the event itself happening when it's happening is ideal, because you've had Paul's rise in the PFL where, especially the last fight, it's brought him to this level of kind of superstardom worldwide. But then also you have all of the stuff with McGregor, and we've Caolan Loughran on later in the show. We kind of talked a little bit about this, where he's coming at his national identity, someone from the north. Like, one, what are you at? And two, what it's done is it's revitalized, or not revitalized, it is stoked a fire under the Irish fan base to rally behind Paul Hughes, and for him really to be like, I think he is right now. Like, I know Ian Gary is flying the flag in the UFC, and he's doing great things, but as far as the country coming around a single fighter, there's no other fighter like Paul Hughes
100%.
has that. And for it to come back, to give Paul Hughes that homecoming event, obviously he's from Derry, but Belfast is his fighting home. Now is the absolute time where he's got so much momentum behind him and so much support coming behind him, and then to have that card in the north of Ireland as well, where not in Dublin but in the north of Ireland, I think it's perfect timing. As far as the matchup itself, Bruno Miranda, look, he's a guy who was on a 7-fight win streak up until he lost a couple in the PFL against Aubin Mercier and Brent Primus. Obviously Brent Primus, a former Bellator champion. Aubin Mercier won the PFL tournament twice, if I recall.
Twice, yeah. He won it twice and retired, yeah.
And then he's beaten Patricky Pitbull in his last fight. So, there's a lot worse matchups that you could have got here. We talked in the last episode about how there's not too much out there.
There's not too much out there.
So I think I see this as similar to Paul's kind of PFL debut, a little bit step up in competition, I would say, to that one. But yeah, like it's. I talked about banana skins, and I didn't really necessarily mean it relating to Paul himself, but I just feel like in MMA, whenever you've got the fight that is like just around the corner and it's dangling and you don't do it next and it's one step away, MMA gods work in mysterious ways and they don't like to just play ball. But I think this is a logical matchup where there's jeopardy, but there's not. It's not the toughest fight in the world for Paul Hughes, but it's still going to present him a challenge, and he'll have to be on his P's and Q's.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, like what the PFL have done here, and they've done correctly, Caoilte, is that they've struck when the iron is hot. One thing that you couldn't do as a promotion, and PFL, we could talk here for 3 hours solid here about the stuff that they do wrong. But the handling of Paul Hughes, don't get me started.
Come on, tell us how you really feel.
Don't get me started, boy. Don't get me started. But what they've done with Paul Hughes, Caoilte, is they definitely handled his decision to go and join forces with them very well, in terms of getting him a warm-up fight, getting him the Nurmagomedov fight, and then bringing him back to Belfast is the key and the next ingredient to his rise up through the promotion, and it feeds us nicely into a potential rematch with Nurmagomedov. But you couldn't keep him on the sidelines after that last performance, and PFL have definitely made the right move here. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would completely agree. It's one of the they don't manage a lot of things very well, as you mentioned there, but they've managed this perfectly. And as you said, struck while the iron's hot, getting them to Belfast, and it's reflected. Did I see that ticket sales are almost sold out already, or the allocation? It's like, that just shows that, well, obviously we all know Paul's doing something right, but PFL are as well by putting it on at this time. So credit to them. It's and credit to Paul. It's incredible, and the impact it's having. That's gonna, as a result, is gonna have kind of a knock-on effect to the rest of Irish MMA as well, which is what I love to see. Paul's getting to fight in Belfast. I imagine Andy maybe have a few more bits on this, where that other Irish fighter is going to get opportunities on the card as well, where they get to compete in front of a Belfast crowd. And I don't know if PFL would actually be in Belfast if it wasn't for Paul Hughes. So yeah, incredible overall, and the wider impact. Yeah, I love it.
Andy,
I was kind of going to ask it to you. Like I read in that piece that PT did with Paul on Uncrowned around the ticket sales. I think he said something like after 27 minutes or something, they had to open up another, like basically reformat, because the ticket sales were going so well. And I know I've heard PT talking about like how he thinks that Hughes can essentially become like what Cedric Doumbé is in France for PFL. So like when they're bringing a card here to Belfast, and it looks like the ticket sales are, by the sounds of things, are going really, really well. Like what else do they need to do? Obviously, you've got Paul versus Miranda in the main event, but like, what else do they need to do with this card to ensure? Because like we've seen the heights that Bellator got to in Dublin with ticket sales and all that, but then it dwindled. So like it's not a guarantee that, well, it sounds like it's going well, but like it's not a guarantee that you'll have like the perfect kind of moment. But like, what do they need to do, or do they need to stack the card? Like, what do you think?
I think what they've done, and what we were going to go and talk about already, is they've stacked a card with definitely fights that have a lot of jeopardy on them. We look at the lightweight tournament that's going to be taking place in full. That's 4 fights that have some meaning as well, and you need that as well. On top of that, I feel you need, some more Irish talent to be added to the card. I think there's a good opportunity there. Maybe, why wouldn't you do what you did with SBG in Dublin? Why don't we get a bunch of FAI guys on this card? Why don't we give the likes of Damien McGuigan an amateur fight if he wants an amateur fight? Maybe Damien McGuigan
get him pro.
Yeah, maybe have his pro debut on the card as well. I mean, why not do that? That's what I think about that card and what it should be. And I think they've got off to a good start. They've got a good, exciting fighter in against Paul. They've got, a bit of jeopardy in the lightweight tournament fights. Add a couple of FAI guys onto the card too, and I think the card makes itself really after that. What do you think?
Yeah, I think go on, Andy.
Go ahead, Quilter.
I think add in the lads, add in the likes of John Mitchell, keep him active. I'd like to see Dylan Chick back. The fact he wasn't in the tournament was actually a bit of a surprise to me. I think that's a different conversation. And then I think some early lads, like Ian was saying there, look at what they did with Patrick Cabirora, by the way. They got him on a Cedric Doumbé card, and I think I remember it was it Pizzi who put it up, where the shock to see the pop that Patrick Cabirora got from a crowd that's not even his native country. He's Belgian. He was fighting in Paris and got a massive pop. Having someone that could kind of get the crowd's attention and nearly help build them even further by getting them on the card. Someone like a Damien McGuigan, geez, I can't speak today, or a Tiernan Loughran, or who else is an FAI that I could be forgetting? Jordan only, he's Cage Warriors, never mind. But there's plenty out there. I think maybe spread it across a bit more as well. Get some lads from Dublin. Who knows?
Yeah, go ahead, Andy.
What I was just going to say is, so I do have it's not a fight, but it is a fight that was in the works. So it's not happening on this card. But Dylan Tuke versus John Mitchell was in the works. It was agreed to, my understanding, by both fighters, but Dylan is injured. I've asked, he's fine with me saying that on the podcast. So that's kind of the way that they were thinking about it. Like, we were kind of speculating this type of stuff, but like a fight like that would be brilliant. So like, I was trying to think of like, who could you, let's say that's obviously not going to happen. I would love to see John Mitchell in against someone, like how am I forgetting his name? This happens every time I got to say a name. He fought Peter Queally. He's from the UK. He trains in Manchester.
Ryan Scope?
No, most recently fought Peter Queally.
Kane Musa.
John Mitchell versus Kane Musa. Give me that fight or something like that, on this card. But yeah, like I think that get Damien McGuigan in from his first pro fight. Get guys like,
because if you're selling tickets to these shows, right, that it would be, to me, a good business decision to bring the PFL back to Belfast on a regular basis, and you use a guy like Damien McGuigan on a Paul Hughes undercard. It's like, here's Paul Hughes, here's the next up and coming star coming out of the gym. You kind of liken the two of them and stick them on these cards. I mean, hopefully they play it right. I think, from what we have so far, and let's talk about the lightweight bracket real quickly, which does include Decky McAleenan, which I was very happy to see. It was a move I didn't know I wanted to see until it was actually there. And I think it's the perfect move for both parties here, both Decky and for PFL. He's coming in against Gino Van Steenis in their lightweight quarter final. We have Claudia Pacella from SBG facing off Gavin Hughes. We have Mark Ewan versus Alexander Shizov. And we have Connor Hughes versus Sebastian DeFranco. So lots of intriguing fights there as well. And maybe let's touch base on Decky's fight with Gino Van Steenis, who's the brother of Costello Van Steenis, of course. A good fight for Decky coming in here for his PFL debut. And he's thrust straight into the tournament too. It's great stuff altogether, Caoilte, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I love the fact that, they're signing fighters out, outside, I guess, the main gyms in Ireland. Massive opportunity for Decky McAleenan here, and one that I think, he's deserved a break at some point, because he's been on cage where he's had a lot of kind of rough luck with injuries, and then when he was on maybe on a bit of a rise or had on a bit of a streak, it may have gotten derailed at some point. I think that was during his Cage Warriors kind of run. So now he's got this massive opportunity, big arena, big tournament. There's a lot of financial incentive to it as well. Like, brilliant. I absolutely love it. So, he's going to have to take a break from the matchmaking for a little while now to be focusing on this.
I mean, he can mix it up there in this tournament, Andy, as well. Decky can, if he comes in fully healthy and at the height of his abilities. A couple of interesting names there, potential matchups for him if he does get past Gino Van Steenis. It's great to see Decky in and getting his opportunity here, as Caoilte said.
It's brilliant. Like, Decky's been fighting, as Caoilte mentioned, in Cage Wars for a long time, and he's 33 years old. At a certain point you have to get paid. That's ultimately what it comes to. At a certain point you have to get paid. And I think that will freshen things up for Decky. Obviously he's coming into this on a 2-fight winning streak where he's finished his last 2 opponents. He had that brilliant moment in the RDS in his last fight, I believe, where he got to finish there too. But Decky has always just been one of the most entertaining fighters in Irish MMA. He's finished, I think, 8 of his 9 pro wins. He's never in a boring fight. So I think this makes a lot of sense. Obviously, he's from Newry, which is only only down the road from Belfast. So he'll be bringing big support there to the arena too. And I just think it's a great move. I think it makes sense for him in this stage of his career, and straight into a tournament format where there's no, politics. There's no, There's no. It's just straightforward. Like you just win.
You just have to win.
You advance.
That's it.
You win. Yeah. You advance. So yeah, delighted to hear it. I was really, really pleased to see this signing. I think it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah, me too. Very well said. We moved from Oktagon in Germany to PFL in Belfast, and now we move to the UFC in London. And a monster weekend for both Shauna, Bannon and Caolan Loughran, who we'll hear about and hear from in just a couple of minutes. But let's talk Shauna Bannon's fight here against Pooja Tomer, women's strawweight division. We were hoping to try and speak to Shauna's schedules, didn't align. We're hoping to talk to her after this fight, of course, against Pooja Tomer. When you look at Pooja Tomer, Caoilte, have you seen much of her in action? How do you feel that she'll kind of match up against Shauna? From what I've seen of her, she has a similar enough style to Shauna. She used her lead side kick very well and kind of almost like a jab to create distance. And, she's explosive, as is Shauna as well. Her hands are pretty good too. So, I mean, when I looked and I watched tape on her, she cuts a lot of similar kind of skills and kind of tendencies that Shauna does have. And I would imagine coming into this fight, given Shauna's history in combat sports and in taekwondo and kickboxing, Shauna will have seen a lot of this kind of a style in her career, and I think that's going to play into her favor in this fight.
I think it makes for a very exciting fight as well. When you got two people who are very, very good on the feet, and that could turn into quite a high level kickboxing match, and the difference could be made in the grappling. Who knows? The Pooja Tomer, I've seen very few kind of fights of hers. I remember when I was kind of watching a lot of one championship that I remember seeing her come across Stamp Fairtex, because I'm a massive Stamp Fairtex fan, and seeing her get absolutely stamped out of there, to be honest, because we know that the difference in level there was insane. But yeah, Tomer's, she's gone on a bit of a run now, and found herself in the UFC, and she's very good now. Like her last fight, she looked good. It'd be interesting to see how they fare and how they kind of square off inside, and how the fight plays out. But Shauna's she's won in the UFC, she's lost in the UFC, she's experienced all the emotions inside there now, and she's very early in her career, so she's been developing every single fight, and I think so she's aware of everything now, and it makes me even more excited to see what level she's at now, because she can only go up from the last 2 performances. You learn every single fight.
Yeah, obviously, Andy, Shauna spoke with us for 2024 year in review, and just spoke about that last fight and how much of a weight off her shoulders it was to pick up that UFC win. And, without knowing too much about behind the scenes of it, but, from most of the videos and the interviews I have seen with Shauna, it does seem that there's a lot more of a calmness and a confidence about her coming into this one. Now that she has a win under her belt inside the Oktagon, she has said herself, and obviously we have said, I don't think we've seen Shauna fight at 100% capacity inside the Oktagon. And me, for one, I'm excited this weekend, to see if she can go out and showcase her true abilities. And if she does, I think she's got a very, very, very good chance of winning this fight.
That is what I'm most interested to see when we see Shauna compete at UFC London. Like she also, like, you guys talked there about the stylistic matchup, and if they come in with similar styles, and what Shauna can be expecting, and the way it may play out. But as you were talking there, I was thinking, well, what's Puya Tumar expecting? So if she's looking at the Shauna Bannon who has fought in the UFC to date and looked at both of her fights, she'll see Shauna fighting at range and using that the kicks that she obviously has in her wheelhouse for years and years and years of kickboxing training and that style. But like what Shauna also said to us on that last episode where we had her on the year in review was that the way she's been fighting in the UFC is not how she spars in the gym. It's an entirely different style. So clearly there's something, whether mental or whatever, that hasn't translated.
Yeah, she mentioned that, and what happens with fighters is sometimes it's something that you call going back to your core tendencies. And Shauna's core tendencies and what she grew up learning to do was to point fight and just land. Once you land, you're scoring. But the difference between that and what you need to do in mixed martial arts is you need to land with impact in order to get the judges' attention, for the judges to win that fight. And she did mention that very loosely in that, and I thought that was good self-assessment, and it's definitely something that is going to have to improve for Shauna coming into this fight. And I would expect, the fact that she's acknowledging it and she's working towards it, I feel that we're going to probably see her fight to her true capabilities in this fight.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, we haven't spoken to her here this time around, but like even like the stuff that she's posting where she's like, this one's for me. They haven't seen the best of me yet. Like, I believe what she's saying in that we haven't seen like the style that she can go out there and show in the UFC yet. We just haven't seen that. And I'm not just because she's saying that, because we've seen it before. Like I remember watching Cage Side of Cage Legacy when she fought Chanel Dyer at amateur, and like she was aggressive, she was thrown like she was kicking at range, but she was thrown with just vicious power. She dropped Chanel Dyer, she was destroying her on the ground. Like we've seen, and that's against a really fucking good fighter. So like we've seen Shauna go out and fight with that, like less kind of like at range and kind of point style, and more just fucking gritty fighting raw. Like we know she can do that. So it's just a case of, do we now see her doing that in the UFC? And I think we will, and that's what I'm interested to see, because if she goes out there, then that's an entirely different fighter that Puya Tumar has to prepare for than the Shauna that we've seen in the UFC so far.
Yeah, and I would expect to see a bit more grappling in this fight as well, because she does have some good takedowns. She hasn't had the ability to showcase that truly in the UFC as well. And I think with Punya here as well, there is some questions about if she does get taken down of her capabilities as well. And I'm excited to see if Shauna can. I think this is the type of fight that I feel Shauna will and should just go out and take by the scruff of the neck. And I'm very excited to see if she can make that happen. It's a good fight for her. It's definitely a 100% winnable fight for her. And I'm very excited to see her back in action on Saturday night, as I am very excited to see Caolan Loughran in action as well. A mouth-watering clash against Nathan Fletcher. Both have fought before at amateur level. Both have won Cage Warriors Bantamweight gold. Now fighting at UFC London this Saturday. We won't wax lyrical too much about this fight ourselves. What we will do is we'll head straight on over to the man himself and we'll pick his brain about what to expect on Saturday night. And we'd like to welcome back to the Auld Triangle podcast the Don himself, Caolan Loughran, ahead of a massive fight this weekend against Nathan Fletcher at UFC London. Caolan, thanks for taking the time to join us. We're getting close now. How are you feeling?
Good, lads, because it's like it's been a long time, and now starting to long enough time anyway. I kind of half missed fight and kind of half forgot about this whole what this feels like. But now I'm starting to cut weight today, starting to do a lot more of this type stuff, like interviews, just starting to feel a wee bit more real. Kind of starting to hit today that I'm back. So good, excited.
Good. I seen a note here. I was planning on asking you at the start, but Andy stuck it in here. When am I getting the old backhander, Caolan, for the O'Neill sponsorship that you got and the lead up to this fight?
That's deadly, isn't it?
Yeah, class.
I first MMA fighter ever, so it was deadly. That's something that we've kind of been aiming towards for quite a long time, like me and Tiernan. And now it's deadly. Like that's. Like they obviously were big GA men, but we're from our children. So for me to be the first MMA fighter they've ever signed, first UFC fighter, as they break into the combat sports, is deadly. Your man, who it was actually Ben Burb who started the whole thing up. Jason, our sponsors, because it was like the North American branch, and then they contacted first, and then they got on to O'Neill's, and they're like, "How has this went unnoticed? That you've been wearing fucking O'Neill's shorts and Cage Wars fights and all?" It's like, I don't know, lads. We've been fucking on you, it's you select, but no, lethal, unreal. It's in terms of like Irish sport, they're synonymous with Irish sport. They're one of the biggest you could get. So happy days. That good to sign with them.
Yeah, it was great to see it. And I mean, if they are looking for any more mixed martial arts personalities here, I think O'Neill always looks good on O'Neill. So I'll just put it out there. Okay? I'm not trying to take any of the spotlight away from yourself now or anything like that. But we'll
Guinness next.
I'll wait for the invoice in the post. I'll put it to you that way.
Guinness next.
What does this mean for the?
I'm actually dead serious with
Loughran jerseys though.
Oh, sort of, lads, sort of. They're not gonna be out for this fight, but O'Neill's gonna do them and sell them off. It's sort of now, how it's an unbelievable sponsorship. Not even just the money side of it, which is obviously one of the reasons why I fucking do this whole thing, and the gear and all there. Just be associated with the brand, so again synonymous with Irish sport. It's deadly, humbling. But it's Guinness next. That's the next one I'm aiming for.
Yeah, what is that it? Any talks have taken place at all for the Guinness sponsorship?
No. Get this win and we'll get on with it. I'm actually dead serious about that. I'm trying to put that out there,
Yeah, why not? It'll be another first. It'll be a good feather in the cap for you. But back to business here, I guess. Look, we were chatting a bit before we came on, and obviously we've talked to you, Caolan, since very early in your career. You've been on with us at the very early stages here in the Auld Triangle. We've watched your career progress. You've been in big fights. You've been in big moments. It's a big moment this Saturday night coming. It's up there, in my opinion, probably the biggest fight of your career so far. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
In terms of it being the biggest fight of your career so far, has anything changed in terms of your training, your preparation, your mindset? For lack of a better term, is there extra pressure on this kind of performance on Saturday night?
Well, I want that. I want to feel nervous. I cannot say hand on heart the last time. I don't know if it was the time change, if it was the change of opponent, whatever it was. It's just not nervous, just not sharp in the mind. And I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good. I think you need them wee bit of nerves. I am going to be nervous, I imagine, because maybe other fighters knows here. If I ever like corner someone, which I don't like Jack there a couple weeks ago, I was like walking behind him doing the walk, and then I was like waiting behind the curtain to come out, and I was kind of half thinking this was me, as I was getting, because I say I've taken like it'll be what 9 months out of the cage, and that was the first time I'd really done anything like that. I cornered Tiernan, but I wasn't thinking fighting then really. I was kind of, I was trying to visualize if it was me. I got like super nervous, like super nervous, but like not that I probably should have been focused on Jack. I was focusing on myself. I got like super nervous for it, but I want that. Like I want that to be sharp. I think that for a fighter is good. Uh, but that's just kind of my outlook on it anyway. I wasn't the last time, not at all. And I think I will be this time in terms of preparation. Hugely different, hugely. Here and abroad, I've traveled a lot since my last fight. I've had like what two months in Las Vegas in Extreme Couture and the UFC PI, surrounded himself with a lot of big names, a lot of UFC champions, contenders, Bellator champions, like big names in the fight game, and big coaches, Eric Nixick and Dennis Davis and all these guys, and just everyone over there went to Spain, went everywhere, went across up and down the UK. We've took a new approach and we're traveling a lot. I've definitely prepared differently, Mike, as my new head coach, Mike and John stepping through. I feel really good, but my preparation's been different, and I am hoping that mentality and nerves on fight night will also be different. But I suppose you don't know until you get there. But I think it will be.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of talk obviously about the current training camp in a few moments, but I guess I want to ask you to maybe reflect on your UFC journey so far. You've been
Yeah.
unlucky with opponent pullouts, obviously having a couple of last minute switches up in opponents, and I guess the question is, how do you look back on your UFC journey so far, and would you do anything differently?
I would travel to train more. I would have done that in preparation. I would have seeked sparring in America and stuff like that. Well, in terms of like what I should I have taken the fights? Do you mean that? I don't regret, not at all. I don't regret that. I don't regret anything I've learned from MMA. I've been in this game since I was a teenager. I've fucking hell lived them. It's saying this to Sheehan. My 20s have been some crack, like some fucking crack. Like literally went from literal poverty, sleeping in the gym, to walking out in front of 20,000 people booing me in Paris. Like I don't regret anything this game has taught me inside the cage or outside the cage. Like it's been some crack. Like I'm not gonna lie. So no, I don't regret taking them fights. You learn a lot. Like what I advise a young guy coming up now, like probably don't do that. Like if I'm being brutally honest, but no, I have learned a lot from this game. I am a better man than I was before I came into the UFC. Like the lessons from this sport, I would say it's like literally like a metaphor for life. Whatever you are will show in that cage. If you've prepared, it will show. If you're a quitter, it will show. If you like haven't trained correctly, it will, like if you're showing up out of shape, you're a lazy guy, it will show. If whatever it is they got, that it'll show up in the cage. So now I've learned so much from this sport. I have good values, partly because of the wins and losses and the people I've met through the sports. And I don't regret anything, but it's made me who I am now. So no, I honestly wouldn't go back and like not like pull out. What would I do? Pull out of them fights? Like I was trained, I was ready to go. What am I gonna do? Lie on the couch and watch the card happen? No, never, no way.
Yeah, no, that makes sense 100%. And kind of what I'm gathering from what you were saying before I asked that question too about the Jake Hadley fight was, you probably didn't feel yourself inside the cage. There was not that maybe that mental trigger for you that to get going, or the fire in your belly. Was How do you reflect on that fight, Caolan?
I haven't watched it since like 3 years after the card. To be honest, that was like I don't know the way I get in the mentality of like, oh, this is gonna happen, the fight, I'm gonna prepare, and then I become like stiff, like waiting. But I'm just not gonna do that anymore. I'm not gonna wait. I'm gonna fight my fight. Do it. Just get good at fit. Just be good at fighting. Just be what you can do in the spar. If I go out and train with fucking, like I think wild rounds with Man. Like I think Man is one of the best fighters pound for pound in the fucking UFC at the minute. When he's on, he's on. I think wild lot around him. Pachi Mix, Ige, all these guys. Like I know I'm good at fighting. Like I know I'm like really good at fighting, but like it doesn't matter. Like it matters in them 15 minutes. You have to be on them 15 minutes. That's all that matters. It's the only time you make money. It's the only time you can advance yourself, go towards dream. That's it. It's the only time it matters. So you have to be on in the first minute of my next fight. Don't come out stiff, waiting for things to happen, find yourself a round down, and then chasing the fight. Can't do that anymore. It's just lessons learned. You know what I mean? But the Harley one is like, that's just fighting, lad. He won. What am I gonna do? Get better. Simple as that.
Caolan, taking the loss to Hadley, I remember speaking with you in the RDS. I think it was after the Lapalus loss, and like you'd put out a video talking about the loss, and it seemed to have really hit you hard. Like you were really kind of just seething on that loss for a while. Yeah. What has this one been like? Has it been different? Has it been the same?
Immediately way worse. Like way worse. Like like in hindsight, not but immediately way worse. Like I don't even. Like I really wanted to I wanted to fuck this off. Like honestly, it's probably hard to say now. Like I genuinely didn't want to do this because I came out of the Hadley fight, and it's not an excuse. I got injured pretty heavily, but not from like an accident. Like it was it was same as him. Basically, I don't know what to talk about, but I got injured anyway. Not a freak accident, not an excuse. He deserved to win. I had put in a lot of training, like an immense amount of training, and I'm in that fight and got injured and lost. And I was sitting there thinking, like, this could literally happen again. Like, that could so easily happen. I could be in amazing shape again. I could put my life into this game. Could do everything that I can put my whole life in it. I could go into amazing shape, and I could literally just get injured in the first fucking minute of my next fight, and I could lose again. I was like, is this actually worth it? Like, I honestly was thinking that. Like, honestly, when I was thinking to myself, it was no. It was no. I was like, for a couple of days, I like literally hated it. I hated the thought of it. And then a couple of days go past, it got to like the Thursday or whatever. And this is just me being honest. Like, it got like Thursday, I've done a wee bit of like exercise. And I was like, that's good. Go again next day, do a bit more. Couldn't do MMA for like a month or whatever. Had to go to the PI to get like medically checked. And I hadn't done any MMA, and I jumped straight into the sparring class in Extreme one day. This is the truth, believe me. Like I jumped straight into the sparring class, and I just got the feels again. I was like, I fucking love this. Like I was sparring like top guys. I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? Like I love this. Tiernan had this fucking, it was mad, this absolute war with this Brazilian guy, and the whole gym shut down. Like Sean Strickland, everybody shut down to watch this. Literally, it was like 25 men circled him. It was unbelievable. And I just left with such a high. I was like, this game's, I don't know. And I literally don't find it all in this game. So that kind of got it going again. That got it going again. And then there's actually Dan Hooker came out against Gamrot around that time. And he lost, I don't know how many fucking times he's lost. And he beat Gamrot, put himself in the top 5. And I was like, what the fuck am I on about? Like, this is just this game. But I immediately after the Hadley fight, I just really was sick of it. I was like, fuck this. I was like, fuck the thought of getting back to even sparring and doing this all. And then just getting out there to Vegas, surrounding myself with them guys and stuff. It really lit a fire under me. Came back, started working with Mike and John, and just I realized I love it. Like I literally love it. But that's just, to be honest, immediately it was low.
Yeah, of course. And that's to be expected too, Caolan. I was going to ask you kind of answered the question I was going to ask as well. It was like, how do you get yourself from that low point to kind of kicking it into gear again? And it's just kind of trusting yourself into training, putting yourself against high level competition, and just reigniting that spark again for you, because it's such a drastic change of emotions to go from
Definitely.
thinking about not ever wanting to do it again. And what's that moment like when you're going through those moments and you're walking in through that gym door for the first time? You're going to be met with your teammates, you're going to be met with all of your coaches. Obviously they'll be providing you support, but I can imagine there's butterflies in the tummy, and it's kind of like maybe entering into the gym for the first time again in some ways.
Well, I just wanted to see, like, you can't lie, you can lie to a camera, you can lie to everyone, you can't lie to yourself. Like, I just want to see, like, well, I'm gonna spar some of the best guys in the world. I'm gonna be sparring Patchy Mix somebody today. See how the fuck it goes. No training, a lot of pints after that loss. I was like, fucking jump
No
right in.
way.
Oh, stupid amount of it. But did I actually honestly believe I would never, I'd probably not. I was only for a couple of days. I just literally was like, the very thought of doing MMA was like, fuck this. This is not worth it. That's what I was thinking. This is not worth it. But then sooner you just catch yourself on, and I love it. Like I took Laura over to Jack and Stringer's fight in FCC, and she's like, you fucking. When you're back, it's like I'm on drugs when I'm backstage. Just get a high off it, like it's just be wired. Like, no, I love it. But that was just me being honest. Like after that fight, I was like, I just fuck this. But I very quickly you catch yourself on.
100%. You've talked about a couple of times in this interview already your time over in Vegas and your time spent in Extreme Couture.
Yeah,
You described it on your blog, Caolan, which anyone who is interested, very good. Watch episode 1 and 2 of the Fight Camp blogs are out on your YouTube channel now. I watched them; they're very good. But you described your time over at Extreme Couture as a fighter's paradise.
100%. Just the level, lads, and just like with how they Syndicate and Extreme, they're crafty. They're both like a 6-minute drive from the PI. Like it's no accident. It's unbelievable. Like it's just everything's so accessible. Like once you get yourself out there, it's basically free. Eat for free. Like again, like it's a 6 or 7 minute drive. So once you've trained, you just go over to the PI, eat, do your recovery. It's all there. Like and then because it's there, the level that's coming into the gym is insane. Like one day I walk in and we're doing a grappling class. Oh, Aljo means Sterling's going to take it today. So he is, because he's there. I was like, oh fuck, happy days, unreal. They go into the Apex training, Cody Yarbrandt going with him, who's actually a really nice guy. It made me feel bad for talking shit to him for years. Actually, I'm such a nice guy.
I'd say you'll have a few more of those run-ins by the time it's all said and done, Caolan.
Oh, he's a legend. He's a fucking legend. He helped us out big time. Just everyone at the level on the mat. There's one day fucking me and Rose, we didn't spar. He stayed with his. So weird that he sparred with his own group in Extreme. But it's just a really, 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 really high level. I never got with Marabna because both times I've been there is whenever he fought O'Malley in the Noche, and then whenever he fought Umar. But I'd love to get some training with him. But Mike and John are all on board that basically when I get a fight again, that's my plan for the foreseeable. Beat Fletcher, and similar to how the likes Paul there, he goes over to Caoilte, doesn't he, and then comes back. It's not the coaching overlay. It is of course it is. It's the you get coached from the lads. You're like if Patchy's wrapping my neck, I'm like, lad, what'd you do there? Type thing. Of course you're level, but it's more just the insane levels of sparring. They don't do as much rounds. I haven't done as much rounds as Camp 100. Like not even remotely close to the amount, which I feel has been a huge benefit. I'd say close to half, if I'm being brutally honest. But I feel I'm getting more out of them. But even out there, you won't do as much rounds. But it's the level of the rounds. There's no rest round. So if I've went from like Ige to Patchy to Manel, and I think, oh fuck, I've done well there, I've done well, 3 good rounds, and then I've got some undefeated fucking Russian young lad who's 8-0, who knows that I'm in the UFC and he wants to fucking get me. That's often the harder round. Do you know what I mean? Like that is the harder round often. So his big round, the way I was to motivated to beat them, his round is to fucking batter me. So you don't really get a switch. You don't get to switch off. But it was a great experience, and it then made me like really rejuvenated to get over and train with Mike and John and Jack and Ralph and all these guys. And then when I got back, I got like a new lease of energy from being in the gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes it's just about quantity or quality, not quantity, if you know what I mean. So that's what it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Quality rounds instead of numerous, maybe
1,000,000%.
lower level sparring. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. And sometimes that's just like experience. Like you're coming up, you're like, have I done enough? Have I done enough? I need to do more. I need to do more. I need to spar 10. Why would you ever need to spar 10 rounds? You don't need to spar 10 rounds. You know what I mean? Someone says that as experience, then, right, I've done enough. Maybe I'll take tonight off. Maybe I'll go easier tomorrow. But here, live and learn, isn't it?
When you're over there and you've got the science behind the PI as well, and how much, like, even the recovery and the facilities available there, does that kind of give you a different perspective on training and recovery and everything with all that's available? And I guess it's just at your doorstep when you are in Vegas.
Yeah, it's just so accessible. Like, it's just unbelievable. And then whenever you leave, like, the S&C coaches will stay in touch with your S&C coach if you want. The nutritionist will stay in touch with your nutritionist, and this is how you should be going about it and stuff. Just next level. And like it's just, again, this stuff of dreams. Like, I'm in fucking doing knee rehab, and beside me there's fucking Kamar Usman doing knee rehab, and there's fucking I know big Gary Pahatska walks in, Donald Cerrone comes in puffing a vape, you know what I mean? It's like it's mental. Like, it's just then you become like half friend, you become like just normal, you know what I mean? Because if every single person walks past is part of the UFC, it becomes half normal. So that was deadly, lad. Would really recommend it to anyone. I should have done it earlier. Should have done it as soon as I got to the UFC, you know.
And you're on about the knee rehab there, and I think there's one of the clips I think you're doing like these kind of squat jumps or whatever it is, and in the background, did you have control of the speakers or something? Because Aslan going in the background, a few Irish tunes going.
I thought I heard broad black brimmer, to be honest, flying out there on the blog as well.
There probably was broad background, to be honest. Because they say they're used to, like, the women who work in the PI, like Heather and all, they come out and go through these songs because they're used to, like, rap music and heavy metal and stuff. But I had a different vibe going on in the PI. But they were me.
You go from the PI to, I guess, what I've seen recently, and is it an attic you lads have that you're training in yourself and Tiernan?
Yeah, the loft.
The loft. There you go. What's it like going from? Is it nearly like a reality check when you're going from the, as you call it, Fire's Paradise, back to the loft to where you were probably training during lockdown?
Well, it's like a roof space in our house. I put them down about fucking 2016. I had this image in my head that I was going to kit this place out. I was going to mat it and all. But then I realised I have no money and mats are very, very, very dear. So it just stayed as a wooden floor. By that, we've been here bit the dung out of each other up there for a long time. The PI,
It's
the
a nice
PI
change from the car, to be fair.
the PI's class setup and it's dead and stuff. But sometimes, like, sweet like things like that is hard to beat. Like, over Christmas, me and Tiernan were training with Emma McNally. Would have been a fucking OG, like the Mauler McNally. Like, McGregor would have been on Emmett's undercard, and we were training him at Christmas. And we used to train with Emmett, and there was literally like a bucket, and there was like this wee shed and be dripping. It was like, what do you need? Like, what that's the good thing about fighting. Like, what do you actually need? Like, he's fucking a couple of mats and a good coach, and you go at it, isn't it?
100%. Kyle, you talked a lot there about, at the start around the sponsorship with O'Neill's, the desire to have a sponsorship with Guinness. You're blaring out rebel tunes, let's say, in the PI. You're a proud Irishman, and your identity obviously means a lot to you. Now, feel free to, you don't have to talk about this if you don't want to. I completely understand if you don't. But obviously, in the aftermath of Paul Hughes' fight, who you're quite close with, there was a whole stuff with him and McGregor essentially questioning his identity, his Irish identity. As someone from Tyrone who feels so strongly about their Irish identity, what did you make of all that? And yeah, what's your opinion on it all?
Yeah, I think Paul spoke really well. I think he handles himself really well in them situations. Probably something McGregor doesn't do. McGregor would jump and tweet something out on a whim, go back and delete it as if he doesn't have 8 million or something followers and no one sees it. Paul would be quite smart and think. It's just like I said in a podcast the other day and put it up on TikTok. I just kind of see Conor McGregor as like two different people. There's the guy like there's the guy now who's like kind of gone half nuts. And then there's the guy who was like on the come up on 145 pounds and was on it, was fresh, he had good values, he was training hard from our very small country, like had huge goals and achieved them that were like crazy to even say it out loud, crazy. So I would look back on videos of my TikTok and that would come up of like reels of McGregor from that time. I still look up to that guy. Not afraid to say it. He 100% inspired me. How could he not inspire me? It was from 2.5 hours down the road and he wins a Cage Wars title, goes to UFC, becomes UFC champion, goes up and becomes another weight UFC champion. That's like, it's absolutely insane. Even when I'm in Vegas, the taxi men are hearing my voice. They're like, "Oh, Conor McGregor," and like, it's kind of even weird to see that, like, what he means in that city. They talk to me about how much money he brings into their city. Like, he literally just changes the place. Like, for him to come from fucking Dublin in them small halls again to stay on the undercard of a guy like Emma McNally to doing that in a city like Las Vegas, bringing in hundreds of millions. It's absolutely unbelievable. So I kind of see him as like two different people. I don't really he tag him underneath this. I don't really care. Like I've talked to him in person at the Bellator show. He unfollowed me over a picture of fucking Guinness for fuck's sake. Like I don't care, but I still say that I still look up to that guy from 145 pounds, even though I'm probably see me if I'm not even older than he was then. But the guy now, I just don't really listen to him. I'd never listen to like a Conor McGregor interview. I don't follow him. I don't really care. But what he said about Paul is just it's outrageous. I mean, it's not the first free stater to say that, you might say. But no, fuck him. He's I still look up to the guy and watch wee clips and reels from 145. But the guy now, I just don't really care about him. Ridiculous comment to say about Paul, but what are you gonna do now?
I mean, as a young up and coming Irish mixed martial artist, it must be disappointing because what frustrates me from a media perspective about the whole thing is that there's guys like yourself and Paul and numerous other, Shauna who's fighting this weekend as well, numerous other Irish mixed martial artists who are trying to forge their way in the sport right now, and it's kind of like a dark cloud that's casting over all of yous right now. With some of the stuff that he's saying.
It probably was one of the best things that ever happened to Paul's career. He made him fucking James McLean overnight. They loved him over. So he became this fucking patriot, which is probably the best thing ever happened to him. But it's just something he didn't need to say. It's just stupid. And I like, what are you gonna do? Like each to their own. I didn't lose sleep over it,
For sure. Let's move on and focus on your fight with Nathan Fletcher this weekend. For you, Caolan, was this a fight that was always going to happen in your eyes? Because obviously yourself and Nathan were going on the same trajectory. He actually held the Cage Warriors title, the same one as you held as well. You were kind of on the same circuit, training in close proximity. Was he someone that you would have always had eyes on?
As a fighter, you always want that one back. He beat me when we were kids and amateurs, so of course it was something that I always paid attention to. You always watch his fights. And I always kind of thought we would fight. If I'm being brutally honest, I don't know. And whenever I was fighting Cage Warriors, I don't even know if he fought the whole time. Maybe once the whole time I was in it, he just was inactive or whatever. And then he competed for the Cage Warriors title. He got knocked out. Obviously, he didn't win it. And I wasn't sure if he would make it to the UFC, if I'm being brutally honest. So I kind of half moved on. I was like, I would have loved to have got that one back, but I probably won't now, is kind of what I was thinking. And then he got on the Contender or Ultimate Fighter and he lost. And I was like, I definitely won't get that one back now. But then he got that bye thing and he got into the UFC. So I definitely, again, he's from a rival gym of my gym. So there's always that kind of like, he's only from, like, I literally drove past his gym today. And this is Sunday here. I drove past his gym today. Liverpool is like the town part is about 3 to 4 mile long, so it's really small place. I've always had eyes on him. I just didn't. I kind of thought it had passed, but no, happy days. I'm very much looking forward to I got competing against him. Like I try not to take any external into it. I'll try and be thinking just on the task in hand, but I'll be a happy man when the cage door locks. Like I know that.
How much do you think that both of you, obviously, silly question, both of you have obviously evolved as fighters? Where do you see yourselves from when the first time that you fought to where you are right now? And maybe I'll ask you the same question about him too. How do you see yourself matching up with them skill set wise heading into Saturday night?
Well, I had no takedown defense when I fought then. I couldn't really defend take. I played jiu-jitsu at that time. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just traveling about training in Ireland and training hard, doing a lot of training, but there's no like wrestling to what there would be now. The way I went for one spar with Mike Grundy at the time, who took down Mozart Evloev about 20 times in a round. Pretty quickly realised that I'm not the guy I thought I was at fucking 21. And then just became immersed in it. So then he could take me down. I would be very surprised if he can hit a take. If he can hit, like I went there again, let's talk about going to Vegas. Like, Kyle was sparring here and stuff, but we went to Vegas, like there's a guy, he's actually called the Don, Kobe the Don. He's like, you feel like you've wrestled your whole life, but I've never had a wrestling match. I grapple hands on. Every time I sparred every single person, I was on initiating the grappling. So maybe he will, but I actually don't think that he will try to. Maybe he will try to steal the takedown. I think he's going to try and get on his bike, circle, and jab. That's what I expect him. Try and use a lot of footwork. It's about me having sharper feet, being better, and cutting them off better, not getting hit as much, being more present, just fighting better. But I'd say the biggest difference would be he was the better offensive wrestler then. I don't think that he will be now, you know.
Do you think obviously his style plays into your style a lot now that you can, you probably have more confidence and stuff in that takedown and having your way on the feet with him? Would you see this fight as one that you would prefer to play out on the feet a lot more, or are you happy to go into those grappling exchanges with him as well?
I'm 100% happy enough to go into the grappling exchange with him. I don't know, lad. Again, I've always focused on the other guy, and then maybe against the Caolan, he's like coming out stiff, like waiting for these things to come off. So I've definitely changed my outlook on that. I still, of course, I've just naturally from him beating me and knowing him, I've been watching his fights. I know his style, but I've really just tried to focus on myself, lad. Just try to be on from the first minute. That's something I've changed personally. But wherever it goes, lad. I'm happy to grapple with him. I'm definitely happy to be on the feet with him. But wherever it goes. Again, I'm just trying to focus on me this time around, you know.
100%. Let's focus on you. Last one for me. Maybe Caoilte has one more as well. But when the cage door closes, what can fans expect to see from Caolan Loughran on Friday or Saturday night?
Much improved fighter and a win. That's what I'm looking at. I think pretty early on you'll see something different, but we'll leave that for fight night.
Caolan, I'm going to put you in the spot here. Bit different, bit not non-fighting for a change, but look, it's shocking the Gaeilge. I know you're from Tyrone. I'm not sure how much Gaeilge is going on up there. Do you have any cúpla focal for us?
To speak Irish. What, lad?
The reaction says it all.
I have my phone, yeah, but I don't know if I have a notion what you just said, lad.
That's the same on a good day, to be honest. Do you have any cúpla focal? Do you have any few words in Irish?
Oh Jesus, no, that'll fuck it up. But I've been listening to a lot of Kneecap lately, but I don't think there'll be too PG.
Great movie.
Great movie, yeah.
Phenomenal movie.
Brilliant.
They're doing well, them lads. See, my sister was actually at them today over in fucking Sydney. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have. I have my Fanya from school, but I'll butcher it.
No, actually, last one. I'm like Andy now with the one last thing. Did Tyrone win the All Ireland this year?
Lad, don't rule it out. Any team in the top flight has a good chance of winning the All Ireland this year. Hard luck past Donegal at the moment, the way they're going at the minute under Jim McGuinness, and the new rules seems to suit them. But I wouldn't rule out Tyrone, definitely not. Especially when we get the Cannons all back. I actually have to watch today's game. Haven't actually watched today, but anyone in the top flight coming out of Division 1 should honestly have a realistic goal. Kerry and Dublin aren't the threat they once were, so Tyrone, Donegal, Armagh, Derry all have realistic goals winning All Ireland this year. I hope so. I missed 2021, didn't I? Was in camp.
Bit more
Caolan,
hope after today.
how do we get you this Guinness sponsorship? We kind of glazed over that a little bit. We kind of brushed past it. You've
How
got
many points does this man have to drink after a fight for a Guinness to come in here and give him a sponsorship?
I see Paul Hughes strutting around bragging about a bouge and black card. So I mean, like,
Lad,
you need to one up.
Deadly. That is deadly. They've just opened up. They were always in Belfast, Boojum. They've opened up one here in Liverpool about 6 months ago. That is a 10 out of 10 sponsorship, I must say. The Boojum deal. Guinness, lad, I'll get it out there. Don't worry, I'll get it on. If I get on the media day or something, I'll sting them or post fight. But lad, no bother. I'll get that. No bother.
Is there anyone that can stand up to you in Irish mixed martial arts for drinking pints of Guinness after a fight, Ken? Has anyone came close yet?
Definitely not that Tiernan man. I know way.
Oh, shots fired. He's a bit of a lightweight.
That's the ultimate big brother in right there.
Hey, he got offered a big fight. Stay tuned for that.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah.
No,
No exclusives here for the Ultra
Let's
angle.
not stay tuned. What are we
What
talking
about LFL? No.
No, I can't tell you.
Ooh, wait. Are we okay? Does the promotion of 3 letters?
No, but I just can't tell you anything to do with the fight. Like they is saying LFL, but no, I can't tell you who it is.
Okay.
But I don't know if he's gonna take it.
Is it in Belfast? I'm just gonna
No.
keep asking questions. Okay.
All right. Before we get him in trouble, we'll wrap it up. This Saturday night, March 22nd, UFC London. Caolan Loughran versus Nathan Fletcher in the bantamweight division. Huge fight for the Don. We're looking forward to seeing it. We wish you the best on fight week. Thanks for taking the time to come and speak with us as always, Caolan. We really appreciate it. Always a good time. And all the best to you, my man.
Thank you very much, lads. Thank you.
All right, lads, moving on to the World Tournament for PFL. We're moving, and isn't it great? I just want to take a moment and say, isn't it fantastic? We're talking about Oktagon, we're talking about PFL, we're talking about UFC, we're back to PFL. The Irish talent is spread out across world mixed martial arts, and it's fantastic. And 3 fighters were announced, obviously, for the PFL World Tournament: Carl Moore, Kieran Clarke, and Nathan Kelly. The brackets were released during the week. Let's stop at the light heavyweight division first. And Carl Moore, who has been matched up with, I was actually messaging Shawnee trying to predict who they would match him up. I got 1 out of 3 right. I predicted Carl for Antonio Carlos Jr. and I got the other 2 wrong. I thought they'd put Kieran Clarke against Leandro Higo, but no, it wasn't to be. Anyway, let's talk about Carl Moore first against Antonio Carlos Jr., former UFC light heavyweight, been prominent in the PFL for the last couple of years. A good stylistic matchup here for Carl to kick off the first round matchup, Caoilte.
Yeah, look, it's been a minute since he's fought. You know, it's going to be over a year since that title fight he had against Corey Anderson. So tough fight against. Is your man's nickname? Is it Shoeface?
Shoeface, correct.
That was it. Yeah. My Brazilian or Portuguese, excuse me, isn't very good. But yeah, it is going to be a tough fight. You know, Antonio Carlos Jr., he hits hard. He's well rounded. He won the tournament last year, wasn't it?
2021.
2021, yeah.
2021, excuse me. You know, he's won the tournament before. He knows what the format's like. But yeah, look, very good stylistic matchup. Should be an exciting one. And a good start, you know. Good start for Carl Moore. You know, he'd make a statement win this in the first round with a win here.
Tough fight. I'll just run through the entire bracket before I bring you in here. Other fights in the first round: Phil Davis versus Rob Wilkinson. The winner of that will face off against Sullivan Cawley or Marcelo Nunez. On the other end of the bracket, then we have said Carl Moore versus Antonio Carlos Jr. The winner of that fight will go on and take on Carl Albrechtsson and Simeon Powell. Overall, the bracket is it's steeped with good talent there, Andy, but I think Carl Moore maybe taking some of the lessons from that title fight that Caoilte mentioned will be coming in here fresh. I mean, a Cara Muir at 100% and performing at 100% here can go on all the way here, I feel. How do you feel he matches up with Antonio Carlos Jr. and the rest of the light heavyweight bracket there? Like, no particularly easy fights, but from what we've seen from Carl before, I mean, he's got a good shot at this. The
way I'd look at it is that, from my perspective, Carl Moore is in the ascendancy in his career. And obviously, he's coming off a tough loss, but a loss that should, in theory, be one that he'll take a lot away from. And I feel like, you don't hear much from Carl Moore. He kind of goes completely silent in between fights and all that. And I've no idea what frame of mind he's in or anything. But like, I feel like if I recall, he was really positive off the back of that last, off the loss to Corey Anderson, and he was kind of saying, "Look, I know if I get that rematch, like, my time is coming." So, like, I would see, as far as this first round matchup goes, Antonio Carlos Jr., he won the tournament in 2021. He's 35 years old. He's had a lot of fights. He's got a lot of great wins. He's got big name wins on his resume. But I would see him as maybe, having already maybe reached the pinnacle of his career and maybe coming on the way down. So I feel like Carl Moore is catching him at a good time in his career and also in Antonio Carlos Jr.'s career. Looking ahead, like, if you look at the other side of the bracket, I see Phil Davis versus Rob Wilkinson. Like, that's two lads who could easily win this whole thing. They're fighting each other for one, so one's going to be gone. The semi-final will be very interesting because it's Carl Albrechtsen versus Simeon Powell on Carl Moore's side of the quarterfinals. He's obviously had that fight with Albrechtsen before, where he had that comeback win, the submission, where it was brilliant. His dad was going nuts after it. But additionally, you got Simeon Powell, who's the guy tipped to be, moving from the European to the world stage and winning it all. And then, of course, he's coming off the loss in the final last year. So it'll be very interesting. My prediction would be that we will see Carl taking on Simeon Powell in the semi-final, and I think that could potentially be the toughest fight that he'll have, en route to a theoretical title if he were to go all the way. But Simeon Powell would be the one I'd be most concerned about.
Yeah, I think, like I said, tough but winnable fights there, and I kind of agree with what you were saying too. I think this tournament is coming at the right time for Carl Moore and at the right stage of his career, and it's great to see him there. Obviously, the bantamweight bracket was filled out as well. Kieran Clarke has been matched up against Kazumov in the first round, and I'll run through the rest of the fights in this bracket before I hand it over to Caoilte for his thoughts. Magomedov will take on Leandro Higo at the top of the bracket. The winner of that will...
You're only allowed in this tournament if you've got two names the same thing.
Exactly, yeah.
We're going to start Kieran.
Clarke. Savajron Kamedov versus Jake Hadley will take on the winner of Higo versus Magomedov. We'll move down to Kieran Clarke, who takes on Kazumov, and the winner of that fight will take on Ali Talib or Zenzabi Ruiz for that bracket. Caoilte, we kind of said when this announcement was made, so happy for Kieran Clarke to be getting this opportunity. This is one that he's fought so hard for and one that he absolutely deserves, and it's here, it's happening, and he's got a good first round matchup too.
He does, yeah. It's another thing, to their credit, PFL are doing right. Kieran Clarke, active, big fights, tournament, the step up in competition, things we've been asking for, we're receiving, and I love it. It's a tough fight, this Kazumov. I think this would be a major scalp, and it'd be a statement win if he can come out to win in this first round. Looking at the bracket, Magomedov is the man to beat in that bracket, if I'm being honest with you. I can't see Leandro Higo getting past him. I can see him going straight to the final. I really think he's the man to beat, and I would love to see him and Kieran Clarke in the final. I think that would be a fantastic fight. But business first in Kazumov, tough fight. He'd have to upset a massive win streak that Kazumov's currently riding against some big names, in
Kazumov,
there.
Yeah, and Kazumov too, is facing a guy who's an undefeated fighter too as well. So, exactly. I mean, it's a very interesting fight to get us kicked off, and I agree. I think Kieran can go out there and get it done if he fights and implements his game, Andy. I
was going to say, Kieran's got the 10-fight win streak. Kazumov's only got a 6.
Love it.
I thought he was 60. Oh, geez, thought he was 16. No, boys. I think it's It's a late one for me today, I think.
That's
Jeez.
all good. You after having it, you're talking about having a few pints of Guinness there after it. Maybe you snake in one or two there before.
I blows to the head beforehand. Never mind pints of Guinness.
It's an interesting fight, isn't it? Because like Kieran kind of is the Dagestani Irish fighter. Like that's his style. You know what I mean? Like if you were to be like, which Irish fighter most represents like the Dagestan style of fighting, I'd be like Kieran Clarke. Like in a heartbeat. So it's I think it's a fascinating stylistic matchup. Him and Kasimov. And look, this is it. Like now everything he and everyone else has been calling for on his behalf, we're finally here. So now it's he'll have to be on his best. I think this division is stacked, to be honest. Like even looking like a guy like Ali Taleb, he looked brilliant last year in the European.
Like Ali Taleb is definitely a guy I would be looking at as a kind of an underdog in this
real
bracket
potential
too. Yeah, like him. I would hope Kieran and Ali Taleb both win their first fight, because I'd love to see both Kieran and Ali Taleb fight. Because two fascinating prospects there on the come up, and I would agree too, Andy. I'm sure you would as well. But that Magomedov is the guy that everyone is going to be looking towards in this bracket. It's a tough, exciting bracket, I think, for everybody that's in it.
Yeah, like everyone, it's on everyone like to raise their game, because you're not like there's no easy fights here, and Kieran will need to evolve, and he'll need to become the best Kieran Clarke that we've seen yet. And like because we've seen like if we're honest, we've seen Kieran in tricky spots in fights, and his like credit to him, he always finds a way to win. But like as you step up the levels of competition, you have to close those gaps, because when you come up against a fighter like a Magomedov, like they will make you pay. So I think Kieran has the potential to do that. I think that we can see the best Kieran Clarke yet, and I think he's got great potential for this tournament. So I'm very, very excited to see how he gets on. And it's exciting times.
Exciting times indeed. Last but not least, in the PFL World Tournament, Nathan Kelly steps into the featherweight bracket against Taekwon Kim. I like this fight for Nathan Kelly as well, obviously coming off a disappointing loss in his last fight. Great to see him get this opportunity. If he wins against Kim, he goes on to fight either Jeremy Kennedy or Mavlid Kayabulev. Kabalayev, yeah, I know I had it right and then I changed it and I got it wrong, but as we shall move on. Gabriel Braga versus Yves Lando, Yves Lando in the first round. Winner of that will take on Jesus Pinedo and Adam Boric. Another tough bracket here, Andy, for the featherweight division as well. Lots of interesting and intriguing fights here, and it's great to see Nathan Kelly in the mix.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think the Taekwon Kim matchup, I like that for Nathan. I haven't been punched in the head, but I still make these mistakes. Did a cardio kickboxing class yesterday though, so basically the same thing. First round, Jeremy Kennedy versus Mavlid Kabalayev. Like that's a banger of a matchup. Like Jeremy Kennedy and Kabalayev, I could both see as being really strong. Like they could, either of those could go on really strong runs in this tournament. Yeah. And obviously Adam Boric would be another one who like I think he's Jesus Pinedo as well. I mean he won. Pinedo knocked out Brendan Loughnane. Braga's pretty good too, to be fair. Braga's been on a good one, and Landu is good. Like I think they absolutely nailed the matchups here, to be honest, for this bracket, in my opinion. But again, it's gonna be very interesting, because like it's a weird thing where we've got like Kieran Clarke 10-fight winning streak coming into the tournament, but then we've got Nathan Kelly, who obviously he was on that 11-fight winning streak or something, and then he loses his last fight. But it's going to be very interesting to see how he rebounds from that, because I feel like there was so much that we can take away positively from what he showed last time out, despite the loss. So it's going to be. I'm very intrigued to see how he rebounded. We've seen him rebound from loss before. It's been absolutely brilliant. So interested to see him do it again here. But yeah, the stakes just keep getting higher. And look, at the end of the day, what I do like about this, I feel like it will in theory be less grueling. You've 3 fights for the tournament here, right? That's because they didn't have they had more than that last time, right? Yeah, it would have been. It's 3 fights. It would have been 2 fights. It would have been 4 fights the last. So there's 1 fight less. Look, all comes to all, I really like the way they've done this tournament. It's not old school kind of tournament. I did like the league, but it was getting a little bit
diluted, and I think they've made the right call here by just kind of whittling it down.
Well, they also they made it weird because then wasn't there a draw at one point and then they just randomly chose a fighter to go through. It's
well, it was. I think the shake-up is a good thing as well, and I think they made the right move by kind of changing the format here as well, and it's less rigorous on the fighters to have one fight less, because that's a tough ass tournament to be in, lads. You're going to be fighting here in quick succession here, and fingers crossed that any of the Irish that are competing there, you can get the win, but you have to kind of stay relatively healthy as well to try and turn yourself around. So it's
in fairness to PFL, we've been bitching them on for a long time, being like, get these lads into the tournament. So fair play, PFL.
Thank you. Thanks for listening for once. Well, yeah.
Clearly
they do one thing right for 10 things wrong for PFL. That's the way we're doing it right now. Good old Don Davis. Yeah, I don't get me going again. Listen, if you want to listen to me bitch and moan about Don Davis, SevereMMA Patreon.
You can subscribe to Josh Thompson's podcast
as well. Yeah, I walk so Josh Thompson can run anyway. But I digress. Let's go and take a look at some of the action that has taken place since the last time that we were on, and we're going to stop back at Belfast for Cage Conflict Modern Warfare. Main event was a middleweight title fight sponsored by the El Triangle podcast between Brian Manning and Dilmar Silva. Obviously, tough news on fight week. Sean McCormack was forced to pull out of the fight. I was really looking forward to that one. Very interesting. But Brian stepped in there. He picked up a very, very impressive first round knockout win. Caoilte, Brian Manning, he's got some dynamite in his hands, and he's been showing us the last couple of fights, and it was no different this one here. Really impressive performance and a huge walk-off KO and startling power from Brian Manning.
Yeah, he's been gradually building up the kind of level of opponent he's been facing. I think the last one was a step up from Jordy Heath, and now this one again was another step up, and it was amazing. It was fantastic. They got to a decent level opponent on such short notice after the unfortunate kind of pull out of Sean McCormack. But look, wow, I was shocked at the power. I didn't know he had that much power in his hands, and he was so sharp. It was clean, brilliant, absolutely brilliant performance from Brian Manning, and it adds a bit of spice to the scene as well. He's not afraid to call people out. He's 3-0 now. There's plenty of middleweights around, so it'll be very interesting to see what happens next. But as for that performance, that KO, brilliant, great end to a great card.
Yeah, 100%, Andy. I'm sure you were just as impressed with Brian here as well and his performance. And, for you, obviously, you can talk about his performance as well, but do you think we should try and get that McCormack fight done again, maybe for another Cage Conflict card down the line, maybe him defending his title, or what's your thoughts?
I've two thoughts. No, I don't really. Well, I mean, you could do that. I don't think there was that much kind of bite or like to the specific McCormack matchup. Like, he's been targeting Paddy McCarry the entire time. Like, that seems to be the fight that he's chasing at the moment. I would like to see for Brian Manning, either you do the his performance was fucking incredible, violent. The speed was like a fucking bullet of his hand connecting. But also you got Marek Jakimowicz, who we can talk about in a moment. Who got a big win over Graham Sheehan just before him. They're middleweights. That's where my head was at. So I think if Brian is willing to stay on the regional scene and go again, defend his title, you make that fight on Cage Conflict, or you could get crazy, not crazy, but you could make the Paddy I don't think it makes sense for Paddy McCarry, looking from his perspective where he is at in his career right now. He's already been on the Ultimate Fighter. He's had a lot more pro fights than Brian. I don't think it makes sense for him.
There's a lot of moving parts to try and make that happen.
But you could make that happen on Cage Warriors Dublin.
You could.
That'd be a brilliant fight. From
Brian's
Brian's perspective, it makes all the sense in the world to chase a fight like that, especially when you've been going at it once. You've gone in here, picked up a title in Belfast on essentially an FAI show. It's like there's a real narrative there that you can sell, and then put it in a Cage Warriors Dublin show.
I prefer. I don't think that fight does anything for Paddy, to be honest. I'm going to speak as a representative of Team O'Neill here. I got to look after Paddy. We need Paddy in a middleweight title fight or a middleweight title #1 contendership. And with all due respect to Brian, he's not there yet. I think a win over if Paddy was to win and whoever's to win that, or if Paddy did get the win over Brian Bannon, it's not really going to set him up for. I think Paddy has done the work, and he needs that either #1 contender or middleweight title shot. To me, that's my opinion on it.
I agree, looking at it from Paddy's perspective, 100%. But if you think back to when Paddy came into Cage Warriors, it was against James Webb, and that fight made absolutely zero sense too. So, he's kind of on the other side of it now. So I'm just thinking of bit of crack, but I agree with you. I don't think it makes sense for Paddy McCarry, but I wouldn't hate if it was made.
Indeed. Talk to me about the Graham Sheehan fight against Marek Yamauchi. Against Marek. Debut for Graham Sheehan, didn't go to plan. And the win came as a little bit of a shock, I guess, to the scene, because obviously Graham showed his skill set at amateur level, and we're expecting big things as well from professionals. Just didn't go his way, Andy, on the night.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the focus coming into it was on Graham Sheehan, his professional debut. He's going in against Mark Yakimowicz. Coming into it, I think was 3-4, mixed record, but Jesus, he looked good.
Experienced.
Experienced. He really just put a pace on Graham Sheehan from the very get-go, and he didn't give him an inch. And fucking hell, like the finish was fairly brutal. Caught him with a beautiful shot. He dropped down and then finished up with the hammer blows, and Sheehan was out. It was a tough scene, obviously, in the cage after. He was getting some medical treatment, some oxygen, etc. I was delighted to see him give the thumbs up to his brother in the corner and to Andy Ryan. I don't know. Seeing scenes like that hit home a lot harder when they're like on the local shows. I find, you see it on. I realize I wasn't at the event, but you're watching a stream still. But you see it on UFC, you're kind of desensitized a little bit to it.
Yeah, the camera cuts away too. I mean, when you're watching.
Yeah. And eventually they did cut away, but it's hard with
it's hard with for sure. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying anything in a bad way. That
brilliant win for Marek though. Really very impressive.
Win. Really, really good win. I know you have thoughts on this fight as well, Andy, but I'll bring Caoilte in for his thoughts on Nadine Abbott-Bissett's return to the cage as well against Giuliana Valentino. Wasn't to be for Nadine on the night. She lost the decision on the scorecards and didn't really perform to her level of expectations, and she said that herself. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, it really wasn't her night. She that time, she's been out for quite a while now, and the ring rust, whatever it may, that could have an impact. You're going straight back into 3 5-minute rounds against a very tough opponent who can hit very hard. And yeah, it really wasn't her night. She was very, very much looking for that armbar quite a lot throughout the fight. After almost getting the first round, Valentino really just wanted to strike, and when she did hit, she was quite powerful. She had I think she had this big slam in the first round. I actually winced when she tried to slam her way out of an armbar, because I was like, I don't know. It's just one of those when you're looking at it, like, oh God, that's one of those that can go very wrong. But Nadine, she had the armbar for most of the first round. And then after that, I think Valentino kind of had the read, and the fact that Nadine wanted to grapple, and she was quite dangerous in the clinch. She was trying to get the knee to the head quite a lot, was Valentino. And then while Nadine was trying to get it down to the ground, it was kind of it was, one was trying to strike, the other was trying to grapple, and Valentino was getting the better of the two over the course of the 3 rounds.
Andy, I know you had kind of some opinions on maybe the scorecard here. Hot take, Stevenson coming in hot here. Look at round 1, Nadine. Round 2, close fight. Close round 3, Valentino. I think it all hinged on that second round, Andy. Is that what you're kind of alluding to here? That it you feel probably round 2 could have been given to Nadine for the armbar attempt and stuff?
I just had to go and check before I give my thoughts here. I had to go and check the draft results here because I'm seeing Nadine Abbott-Bissett on Team Caoilte. Yet he is troll. I mean, this is, to be fair, to your credit,
accusations.
an amazing journalist, completely impartial. But I disagree. I think look, Irish MMA is a very small scene. I'm by no means trying to have a pop at anyone at all here. I just don't. Two judges gave it 30-27 to.
Oh yeah.
I just don't understand that. I really don't.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
I thought that Nadine, like the Caoilte correctly brought up the slam in the first round, but that was really all Valentino did, and I don't think it really had an effect on Nadine at all because she. That was early in the round and she continued. She had the arm outstretched. I thought it was a very clear round one for Nadine. I thought the third round was very clear for Valentina. Like she was putting it on Nadine in that third round for sure. The second round, I had to kind of I rewinded a couple of times because what I saw was in the opening exchanges, it was Valentino trying to put all the pressure and she was throwing, knees up the clinch, kicks from the outside, punches. But nothing was really connecting from what I saw. Like it was just barely missing. And then Nadine got her down. Nadine was taken down. Nadine was throwing up subs off her back for the majority of the round, but tying up Valentino's hands. So Valentino wasn't really throwing anything at all. There was no damage being landed. And albeit at the very end of the fight, at the end of the round rather, she landed a couple of shots. So I could see that I think it's a very, very, very close round, that second round. But I would have been inclined to be like, well, hang on. She didn't actually really connect with any of the strikes in the early opening exchange. And okay, she landed a couple of strikes at the end, but like Nadine was throwing up subs the entire time, or like a good bit of the time. So I would have gone to Nadine. I thought it was a 29.
And the argument against, I think the argument is that what you're saying is that obviously there was slight damage from Valentino, but the fight came closer to being finished by Nadine with the armbar attempt, and
to be fair, more so in the first and the second.
Yeah. But still, when there's very little to score, you kind of have to.
Yeah, very close. Second, very, very close. But the 30-27s make no sense to me.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're all in agreement when it comes to that too. But good. What didn't go our way. Great to see Nadine back. She'll be back again. Not easy to come back after giving birth, I would definitely assume. So fair play to her, and always excited to see her in action, and I'm sure we will again. Caoilte. Moving on to the bantamweight title fight between Owen Oliver and Jason Shreehan. Unanimous decision win for Oliver here, and who came out to Adele rolling in the deep. You liked that one, did you?
Oh, I loved it. I was like, that's a walkout song right there. Oh, Oliver, fair play. I loved it. And I loved the fight and the performance as well. What a fight. High level fight. Both lads at a very, very good level. That is worthy. It was worthy of a title fight, and the placement card, everything. Oliver came out as the winner in the end. I think he retained that belt the Cage Conflict bantamweight belt, and across over the course of the fight, he really he was showing a different level altogether. He's very, very accurate. There were some lovely grappling exchanges throughout the first round that started from a Shreehan takedown. Oliver was actually he looked so good on the feet. He looked a lot better. Nice long strikes, kind of got his range really well, and he was switching stances. Paul Hughes actually broke out the bias a little bit in the first round as well. There was this moment that Oliver was having something go his way, and I think he just let out a big yes that came across, and I thought that was quite funny. But first round I would have given it to Oliver. The technical striking was just phenomenal but Shreehan wasn't going away throughout the entire fight. Shreehan even landed a head kick in the second round. Shreehan was then dropped by a kick from Oliver. It was fantastic. Very, very high level fight. Go through the entire thing, but I know we need to wrap this up. Overall, fantastic performance. I'm very interested to see what happens next because I'm not sure how many fights he has. He's left it at amateur, especially with a performance like that.
Indeed, yeah, very well said, and a very good fight too. We'll rattle through 3 more fights here really, really quickly, and I'll just give out the results here, and I'll let you maybe describe your thoughts on these fights. Shea Cleland defeated Kevin Walsh via unanimous decision. Michael Cronley defeated Michael Shields via unanimous decision. That was for a featherweight title fight, actually. Shea Cleland versus Kevin Walsh for the flyweight title. And the super lightweight title was fought between Blaine McGill and Dominic Rhodes. And Blaine McGill also took that fight home by unanimous decision. So 3 decision wins for the champions there, Andy. Any quick thoughts on those 3 fights before we move on?
One, like Michael Cronley beating Michael Shields, that's a great win. Michael Shields looked absolutely phenomenal all last year and this year too. I think that's a really good name to take out. Shea Cleland just, like he's so good. I wonder, is he going to be moving towards pro? The same with Damien McGuigan, and I'm wondering, and I don't know if this is absolutely insane. Do they do the 3rd fight in as pros on PFL Belfast?
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
that'd be pretty cool. Like,
yeah,
it'd be nice. I realized Damien won both of them. Like, it's 2-0, but like, I don't think anyone would say
razor close fights, like razor close fights.
Yeah, I know. I just mean
imagine now you'll get an extra 2 minutes tagged onto each round as well if they're to.
And you've got Paul fighting. You know, obviously, FAI Paul's at the headline of the card. Decky's is fighting on the card too. Like, it would kind of make a lot of sense.
It's a no-brainer, but PFL don't always operate with common sense, unfortunately. But I'll never miss an opportunity to kind of shit on that.
And Blaine McGill with the win over Dominic Rhodes. Dominic Rhodes has been looking great lately as well. Blaine McGill, another one I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him move to pro in the near future. Great win.
Brilliant win for Dylan Logan as well at Raged UK, who came the lightweight title champion over there. A really good win over Dorian Stiawotsky via armbar. A good win overall. Caoilte came out, utilized that karate stance, thrown out the front kick, got caught, got taken down, played guard for a little bit, and had a wonderful setup to set up the armbar, used the cage to kick off, wrapped it up, and got the tap relatively quickly once the armbar was secured. It was a good solid performance from Dylan, and it's great to see him back. Yeah,
he looked sharp in there for a lad who he hasn't fought in how long? Was it 5 years? Yeah, about 5 years. Absolutely brilliant. I was usually, I think we've seen 1 or 2 lads come back after a long layoff and maybe need a round to get back into the swing of things and maybe settle themselves into a fight. Dylan Logan didn't need that. He looked sharp when he was out there. I thought his grappling was on point. He had this lovely little kind of nearly a trip attempt from the ground as well that I was fascinated by. I thought that was really
lovely.
It was slick. And then the armbar, everything against a legit opponent at that as well, who was a late replacement for the guy who was originally scheduled to fight. But overall, fantastic. That's a real statement for your return to the cage. Fair play to him. He's been he was showing off the title afterwards, and can you blame him after all those years out and then finishing that way?
Must be some feeling, after being on the sidelines for so long and going through what he went through, Andy. I mean, a solid win. You could see how much it meant to him after the fight too, and wins like that, they open up doors for other opportunities as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like, the biggest takeaway that I had from it is he just looked so composed. Like, it would be very understandable 5 years out with a bit of ring rust, etc., to maybe have a few jitters or something like that. But that didn't look like the case at all. He seemed very calm, very composed, and really just looked like he was in control. Even when he's kind of getting put down, he was in control the entire fight. Even when he's not in control, let's say. And then what I really like, what I always enjoy is he kind of built up the fight a little bit in the lead up to it. He delivered with the performance, but then he sets up the next thing, which is he wants to go down and go for the second belt there, and he wants to fight Grant Ogborn, who pulled out of the fight this time. So like, you're giving us something, you're dangling a carrot for us to look forward to move your story along, especially when you've been gone for 5 years. And like, really, like, it would be very, like, I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, but it'd be very easy if someone hasn't fought in 5 years for people just to not really pay attention or not notice what you're doing when you're coming back. But like, you're generating that interest by doing this, I think.
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely not Dylan's first rodeo by any means, and I think he handled everything excellently, and good for him getting the win. And yeah, hopefully he gets that Grant Ogborn fight. I think there's a little bit of spiciness that already exists, and the narrative is already created for that, so it makes a hell of a lot of sense. let's move over to Cage Warriors, lads, before we wrap it up. Not too long. Like I said, we had a metric ton of stuff to get through. I think we've done quite well, but it's been a blistering start to 2025 for Team KF. And they picked up another 2 wins over the weekend on Cage Warriors, 183 and 184. Adam Shelley was out first against Simeon Patrici. And Adam Shelley, close first round, but took over the fight after that first round, Caoilte, and put on a very good striking display and a dominant display overall.
Yeah, the second round, there could be a bit of debate about whether how the scoring could go. I know commentary were debating that at the time, but when you're looking at the criteria, I had it fairly clear cut for Adam Shelley purely from a damage perspective. Patrici just wanted to kind of coast that round, just take him down, lie on top of him, and in the first round, Patrici got the takedown early, and he was able to kind of implement that grappling game but not really progress from it. He may have had a shot or two from the position, but not do much more. And he had emptied the gas tank so much in that round. Like that energy management or conservation just wasn't there for the rest of the fight then.
And it was a big fight for Adam too. Like when you find yourself into that position, you're probably back and you're in guard, you're trying to remain safe, and you're like thinking, oh man, I don't need to be here right now. But I think Adam, he rebounded well from that. Obviously, after you said with Patrice kind of gassing out a little bit, which did help things. But I think it was a good kind of response from Adam after that first round for sure.
Brilliant, yeah. He's able to get his back up against Cage when he's ever there. Land some damage. Those elbows were lovely off his back. And then in the third round, we really saw him get to work. Third round was clear cut. The second one was a bit of would have been the toss up, but I had it for Adam. Third round, then he was really putting on a striking clinic near the end of that. He landed a head kick. He found his range. He was popping off shots. He had this big kind of he kind of caused a big swelling around the eye of Patrici as well, and I think it was nearly shut by the end of the round. But overall, very good performance. He may not have started as strong as he would have hoped, but he finished very, very strong. And very deserved win for Adam Shelley, and extends that Team KF win percentage of 100 for the start of 2025.
Yeah, very impressive start, as I said. And Craig McGrattan, Andy, he kept that run alive when he defeated Luca Finocchi by unanimous decision. I think the scorecards in this one, Andy, tell the story of the fight: 30-26, 30-26, and 30-25 for McGrattan. I said a very good dominant performance and a valuable 15 minutes for McGrattan coming in the early stages of his professional career.
100%. Finocchio looked quite dangerous early. They were kind of bigging up his striking accolades, and in the first round was definitely the closest round. The first round, it was kind of like the lads were exchanging on the feet. They were having kind of like a clinch battle where they were both landing knees up the middle. Finocchio was having greater success at range with his kicks, and when McGrattan was kind of closing the distance and landing with his hands, that's where he was finding his success. Eventually he takes the fight to the ground, and in that first round he didn't land a whole lot of damage. Like, he controlled the rest of the round once he got him down, but he didn't land a huge amount of damage. So I would have gone McGrattan, but I think it's a relatively close round, but I think it's a 10-9 McGrattan. And then from then on out, like the second round, he absolutely dominated, landed a lot of damage, took the back numerous times. Like he was destroying him in the second round. I think, I can't remember offhand, I can't remember if it was the second or the third, but that one of the rounds, I think it was the second maybe, where there was the cage grab. So the ref didn't take position, but he did take the point, which was obviously, quite impactful there. And then the third round, he dominated as well. I thought he was closer to finishing it in the second than the third, but it was a beautiful performance. I thought he looked absolutely brilliant in there, and a brilliant Cage Warriors debut. I was sent a clip of him after the fight talking to, I apologize, I don't know who he was talking to. I can't remember who it was. But we had Dom Norcas talking about fingering lampposts, which we will never let that die down on the El Triangle. Well, we had Craig McGrattan talking about robbing Tesco in his post-fight interview. He was like, I used to look up to these guys on Cage Warriors and think they were making millions and all this stuff, and I'm here now, and I'm still pickpocketing I'm still shoplifting from Tesco. I was like, Jesus, mate, maybe keep that one to yourself. So yeah, Cage Warriors. I thought he was asking for media training. We'll put you in contact with Phil O'Connor or someone, and maybe don't talk about shoplifting from Tesco next time.
The conflict guards will be at the door there in no time. So, good luck trying to wrap him up. I guess in the cuffs, he's not the easiest guy to tie up. But yeah, funny you said that. But brilliant stuff. Look at all credit to Team KF. The stable of fighters there are absolutely on fire at the minute, and it's very exciting to see. Quick roundup of upcoming action before we wrap up the podcast today. Caoilte, I'll send over Clan Wars 51, which is on March 22nd. One fight that sticks out to me on this is the amateur flyweight title between Billy Sunderland and Keane McGrattan. That's a fight that I'm really looking forward to seeing. Very well matched fight and an exciting fight. A couple of other interesting ones on the card as well. What sticks out to you the most?
I think the one you mentioned there is probably the one that sticks out the most. But outside that, I guess it's the story of Kieran Mulholland come back to the cage after such a long time out. He's taking on Aaron Brogan. It's just brilliant to see Kieran back active again. You know, he was on this rise in Cage Warriors and he went on a very good run, and he's been off for quite a while now. So brilliant to see him back in there again. He got Andre Misiuk versus Auger Lopez. Misiuk, I think, just went 2-0 at the weekend. He came through the IMAF ranks, Ukrainian lad. Now he lives in Nace or around Nace area and trains in SBG Nace. Another very, very good prospect to look out for. And Auger Lopez is... He's no joke either. Damien McKenna for his second pro fight. He's going to be taking on Nikola Ivanovic. And yeah, that amateur fight that you mentioned there, Billy Sutherland was actually meant to go pro. I wasn't too sure about the opponent or really heard of him before. The original opponent.
Wasn't he supposed to fight over in the UK? Did I see? Originally,
not too sure. He was meant, the fella they were flying in for him, he was from the UK, but I'd never really heard of him before. And anyway, he pulled out, so Sutherland's not going to pro just yet. And flyweight title against McGrattan in what I think is actually it's definitely a better fight than what was originally scheduled. So fair play to Clan Wars. They put together a very good card. I know Ronan Deegan's on the card. Who else on it? There's a few others as well, but overall, look, it's a stacked enough card. Fair play to them. They're staying active with the year.
Yeah, 100%. Did we miss anything, Andy? Anything that you'd like to mention on that card before we move on?
No, I think he's sorry, I started drifting off. I was looking
We're after getting to like almost the 2 hour mark here now, Andy.
That's where I switch off.
Start to drift off.
No, I was looking to see what fights we'd forgotten for upcoming action. I think I may have found a few. No, I think you summed it up well. Like, it's brilliant to see so many pro fights on that Clan Wars card. Not to be a negative, but I don't like the use of Nikola Ivanovic in these spots. That's just my opinion. But it's brilliant to see so many pro fights on there, and looking forward to watching the card.
Yep, me too. Looking forward to seeing Palahan back in action again. He's away from Combat Global. Enrique Exposito is going to be his opponent at WOW FC 17 on March 29th. So I believe that fight is going to be available on UFC Fight Pass for everybody to watch. And at least we'll be able to watch a Palahan fight, lads, without having to think of
no promotion. Yeah. It's safe with Ian O'Neill around tonight.
Yeah. Like, come on. We had to sell our soul to watch a Palahan fight on Combat Global. UFC Fight Pass, easy access. That's going to be an exciting fight because this Enrique Exposito guys have I looked at his Instagram and he has like kill or die with the blood emoji here. So I think no better man to stand in front of you with the same kind of attitude towards fighting other than Palahan. So that could be a real barn burner, as all Palahan fights are. Other tidbits, you mentioned we might have missed a couple of fights. Do you want to bring them up, Andy?
I was going to say Nikolai Grozdev is actually on that card as well. So he's taking on Theo Bashford, 6-0. from Spain. Doesn't sound like a very Spanish name, but
Does not. Actually does not, no.
From Lanzarote.
Sounds like Theo Bashford sounds like a creative fighter name in one of like UFC
or like
games or
a
something like
League Two football player or something.
yeah, Marcus Rashford's brother who likes to just bash into people.
It's like, oh no, I know football.
Yeah.
Theo Bashford.
yeah. Anything else, Andy?
I don't think so.
Trevor McKengo and Stephen Costello both have signed for Cage Warriors as well. Two exciting signings there. Very excited to see both of those guys in the yellow gloves. No fights announced just yet. I would say there's probably a good chance we see them in April, but no guarantees on that. There's a lot of Irish talent. I mean, I don't know how they're going to fill up that card. We have a couple of other cards that are coming up. I know the Cage Warriors announced the Manchester card too, so we might have a couple of Irish MMA fighters on those other cards because, I mean, if we keep adding fights to this April card, I think we could be there for a fortnight watching Irish in action. But I wouldn't be against it either at the same time. And I think that wraps us up, guys, unless I missed anything or forgot anything. I think we're all done for episode 80 of the Owl Triangle. Thanks to everybody for listening in. It was a big one. It's a long one this week. Huge weekend of action coming up for Shauna and Caolan and a couple of others in action over the next couple of weeks, all of which we will talk about on the next episode of the Owl Triangle. And for all is left for us to do is for Caoilte to see us out.
Garamil Mahogif, August Longafall.